Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let's go ahead and open up the doors and let everybody in the Zoom room in. My name is Ruth Ellen Sanchez, and I am filling in for Rebecca Dukes while she is away taking a little break that she totally deserves. And that woman works really hard. So wanted to say that this program is sponsored by dailywithdoc.com. And if you, oh, goodness. This program is intended for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical, and we do not make any claims regarding health, income. As an empowered individual, you do have options and free will. So today, our guest is Richard Renton. And Richard has a Bachelor of Science, Master MS, and he's also a certified athletic trainer. He oversees the quality control issues at Sorry about that. Okay. Let me start over there. Richard Renton is oh gosh. Okay. I get nervous and it's okay. He oversees all the quality control issues at DWD. Hi. Okay. Richard, I'm just going to let you go because I keep getting muted. I'm going to bring you on and it's making me really nervous and I don't know what's happening.
You know, I've probably been doing Zoom calls every week for, oh gosh, 5 years, because when I was the president of my Rotary Club, when COVID came out and we weren't allowed to meet in person. And so we started to develop this idea of a hybrid meeting in which we had some people in person, not during COVID, but afterwards, and on Zoom. So there hasn't anything that's gone on with Zoom that I haven't struggled with. And so I think almost everybody out there that's in business has gone through that scenario. And so it's no big deal. So yes, I have a bachelor's of science and a master's degree in organic chemistry and nutrition, and I'm a board certified athletic trainer. And I work with longevity on the quality control of the product. If you have a problem with the product, you don't call me because I'm the guy in the background that tries to figure out how to solve the problem. You still call longevity, and they have a routine that's required by our wonderful federal government. It's called CGMP. and they have a procedure that they go through. And you know, it's a good thing to kind of talk about, because if you ever have a challenge with a product, you'll need to know the name of the product and the lot number. And some people don't know how to spot lot numbers. And I'll tell you, on longevity, it's on the bottom of the bottles, and it will say goodbye, and it'll have a date, or it'll say date of manufacturer, and it'll have a date, and then it'll have a lot number underneath there, and they'll need to know that lot number. And when they do that, one of the things that we do as a company, have always had before it was required, is that we saved a few bottles of every single lot that we have ever sold. Now that goes back now 27 years. So you can imagine a couple bottles of minerals that was made 25 years ago, we still have them. And so if someone does have a concern, and we do need to have merit, like they say they see these unusual purple spots in selenium. Well, it's pretty easy to solve that one, but we can actually go back to our retained sample, open them up and see if we see any there, and then we can start investigating it. And it's kind of off the topic that I was going to talk about, but it's important that everyone understands that we do that. The other thing, before I get off on my subject, that is kind of an interesting one, is that if you've been around Doc, and he's been on this show hundreds of times, he always says per 100 pounds of body weight. How many have heard that as far as a dose per 100 pound body weight? But when you look on BTT original, or 1.0, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, it says 2 scoops, right? It doesn't give you that 100-pound option. And one of the most common questions people ask is why. And so when I first came up with 1.0 and the help in the design in that, and we produced it, there were a lot of companies that basically said there's no physical way they could have all those nutrients in that dose. It's impossible. And so one of the things that you can do is you can send a product to a third-party certification lab. In our case, it's called NFS, and they certify the ingredients of the lots. And not only do they certify the quality and the quantity, they also can certify if they're organic or non-organic, if they're GMO, non-GMO, and everywhere that you can take it. And so we spent the money to send the original BTT out there with NSF. Now, if you want to put the little NSF logo on the jar, you always have to abide by their rules. And they looked at the directions, and they called up Steve Wallach, and they said, it says this much per 100 pounds of body weight. No one does that. We haven't ever heard of anyone doing that before. And then Steve explained to him that, you know, there's common nutritional values between a mouse and an elephant, but an elephant needs more than a mouse. So there's common nutritional value between someone that weighs 90 pounds and someone who weighs 250 pounds, but the person that needs 250 pounds needs more. And they go, well, the challenge that we have is that if we certify your product, we're certifying it that people in the NBA, in the Olympics, NFL, professional basketball, professional soccer can take your product, and they don't have to worry about taking an illegal ingredient. And we go, well, we would like that. And they said, well, if you do that, then you have to do the directions like we do the directions. And that's when all of a sudden there started to be a variance, because it used to be that we put on the label per 100 pounds of body weight. But then we did this switch, and we didn't publicize why per se, but that was the reason, is that we wanted that certification, not only to show other companies, we can't put all that in there, but that the consumer that is looking to be a professional athlete or in NC2A or something like that can feel comfortable taking our products, that they are safe and worthwhile. And to us, that's worthwhile. But we had to change the label to abide by their rules. And so kind of gives you a little insight of some of the stuff that I get involved with on how that goes. So my subject today that I was going to talk about was, I want to lose weight. I'm going to go on a diet. And Usually when I work with people, I tell them, if that's your plan, you're going to fail. And they go, what? And I go, how many people make a pledge at the beginning of January or New Year's Eve, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to go on this diet, or I'm going to exercise more. And it lasts about 3 weeks, about where we're at right now. And then they give up. It's so common, it's ridiculous. My biggest way in losing weight is changing your lifestyle. It's not going to drop 25 pounds in the first month, may not even drop 25 pounds in the first year, but it's a proven successful program. And so I got on Google for fun and I listed the 5 most popular diets out there. And I thought I'd just throw them out there, one of which I like, 2 of them which I like. The number 1 is low carb whole food diet. And most of these you've all know about, but carbohydrates, basically another word for it is processed foods, because 9 times out of 10, and I'll tell you, when you go into a supermarket, you only want to shop on the outside part of the supermarket, because that's where your vegetable aisles are. That's where your fruit aisles are. That's where your protein and dairy aisles are. All the processed foods are all in the middle of the grocery store. If you haven't noticed, that's kind of interesting. The rule of thumb in our family, if it has more than 5 ingredients, we don't buy it. More than 5 ingredients. 9 times out of 10, everything in the middle of the store is that way. And so we try to reduce our carbohydrates. We still like eating potatoes. That still has carbohydrates in it. And there's certain things in there. But we lower our carbohydrates, increase our fruits and vegetables and protein in that style of a diet proportional to our weight. The second one, which is one of the ones that I like, is called a Mediterranean diet. We've all heard about it. It all has unique things, but basically it talks about the old grains that haven't been genetically modified, lots of fruits and vegetables, fish and protein, and legumes and dairy products in a proportional amount. But when you talk to a sweet Italian mother or grandmother and you told her, let me get a jar and I'll open up some spaghetti sauce and we'll have spaghetti, she'll hit you in the back of the head. And it's not that hard to make it. And then you don't have to have all those preservatives inside ingredients in it. You can just go out and get fresh tomatoes and crush them up and add garlic and basil and other ingredients and simmer it for a short period of time, and maybe put in some herbes de Provence or some other herbs that you like. And you can make a tomato sauce in, it takes me about 20 minutes. And it's so much better for you than that. The other thing is that whenever I make a tomato, people laugh at me. I take a jar of water into the store with me and I'll drop the tomatoes in the jar of water. And if they float, I don't buy them. If they sink, I buy them, because we know that their density is rich with nutrients and it's worth the value. If they're cooked a lot in a greenhouse or hydroponic, if they don't put the minerals in their hydroponics, then they'll float every time. Paleo diet, vegan diet, that's the other one, because I live with a vegan. I have to kind of support that. She's not here today, but I have to do that. And gluten-free diet. Those are the 5 most common diets right now. And then you can also talk about keto diets and things like that. And there's lots of buzzwords. But I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to make you all laugh. Remember when we used to have plates, and I actually went in my pantry and I looked for the plate that had the dividers in it. And we always used to put the steak in the big section, a little bit of vegetable and a little bit of fruit, right? And that's how we had our picnic plate. Well, if you really want to lose weight, you should kind of change that a little bit. This part should all be salads and vegetables and things like this. This part can be your protein, and you can have beans, you can have legumes, you can have meat if you wish. I'll tell you, don't charbroil your meat, because the black part of that meat is carcinogenic, and try to stay away from nitrates. You know, we don't want processed meats. And so that, and then the other part is fruit. And I'll encourage all of you to go on the internet and download which fruits should I get that can be organic and which fruits can I get that don't have to be organic. Because one of the big reasons why I see people struggle with what's going on, especially right now, is the cost of groceries. And if I can eat a fruit that doesn't get a lot of pesticides or herbicides, then I don't get it organic. If it's ones that gets tons of pesticides and herbicides, then I'll buy organic. And that's one way I do it. My chicken, I get hormone free, right? And steroid free. And so I get a little more picky on what I eat. But then I start to make my plate this way by eating more salads and things like that and less meat. And I find out that I get filled up. I still get the nutrients that I need, and I still take my 90 for life, but all of a sudden I don't have the hungers that I used to. And that's because the food that I eat, along with the Mighty 90, is valuable in nutrition versus if I just eat the processed foods, the pre-made pizzas, the pre-made dinners and things like that, or in the showcases and things like that. There's not a lot of nutrients in it. They have to cook it out to make it safe in case you don't handle it correctly, because they don't want it to spoil and for you to get all those toxins. And so to me, it's important to eat this style versus a diet. Now, let's talk about when you eat. Your most important meals are when you're active or right after or right before you're active. So breakfast and lunch are your important meals, not dinner. Because typically what you do is you eat your dinner and then you rest within 2 to 3 hours afterwards. And so all the calories that you bring in on that dinner turns into storage, which is called fat, and you don't need it. So if you're going to cut back on a meal and like eat a meal replacement shake with protein, then dinner's the perfect time to do it. Your lunch should be really your biggest meal because you've burned up all your reserves and you're starting to attack on what you need. And if you eat lunch, you do it. So let's go back to the Mediterranean diet. I don't know if many of you have gone to Europe, but when you do, you'll find out that their biggest meals, they usually take lunch and then they take usually a nap after lunch, but they rest after lunch and then they go back to work. Well, they're building up all those calories and they're using them efficiently within their body. And when they do so, they lose weight. Now, can they drink wine? Yes, and they do. A glass of dark wine has great antioxidant properties, and as long as you do it with moderation, that's fine. My father used to auction and wholesale wine. So I started to drink wine at dinner when I was about 10. Now, was it my liter of water? Wait a minute, I got to go that way. My liter of water container of wine? No, it was just, a few ounces. But he educated me about wine and how it was made during all that. And as I got older and a little more responsible, I might have a full glass with dinner. But I can tell you, when I went through high school and I went through college, alcohol was not a big thing to me because I was used to it, right? And I never really went on the big binges. Now, I won't say I never, but I seldom did. And I can tell you that there was a couple of rules in my family, as that my father ever caught me drinking and driving, I'd never drive one of his cars again. And he was dead serious to the day he died. You don't do that. But if I wanted to have a glass of wine with him, he'd be more than happy to make me dinner, and we would sit as a family and enjoy a nice evening together. And so, the big thing about losing weight is that if you go to something like this, and you change your habits, which means you have to do it 3 weeks in a row with no exception, and then it becomes easier and easier, you're going to find all of a sudden you lose weight. I find people will actually lose weight the second they start taking the 90 for life because they don't snack. They have no desire to snack. And all of a sudden they start reducing the total number of calories they're taking. Now, if you weigh 120 to 150 pounds, you need 2,000 calories is what the experts say. You can probably go down to 1,200 to 1,000 or excuse me, from 1,800 to 1,500 would be fine. I don't encourage you to go down to the 12,000 to 1,000 for an extended period of time, because that's really hard on your body, and you can actually create challenges doing that. If you do a program with Rev, or a product that we used to have that was called ASAP, that was one of those diets where you went down to 1,000 calories a day. And I would tell people do 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, so that they don't harm any of their organs within their body. But it's okay to try to lose weight. It's okay to lose body fat index. If you go to the video on YouTube that's called Mineral Mind Tour, you saw me at my heaviest. I weighed 260. I'm now at 190, and I'm much happier. Did I do it by going on keto? No. Did I do it on Mediterranean? Sort of. Did I do it on vegan? Sort of. Did I do it this way? Yes. Did it take about 2 years? Yes. Do I hope to see some of you in Scottsdale in a few weeks and you can ask me in person? Sure. Come on up and have a chat with me at one of the events. If you want to talk about it on the phone, please feel free to call me, 800-440-1241, or call Longevity and ask for extension 6200. And you'll get me, unless I'm on the radio, because I have all my phones taken off the hook, because that's a Becca requirement. And I think it's a good deal. So, that's my little bit that I wanted to talk about. I noticed that we got questions already, and I'd be happy to talk about it. Bill, do you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your questions? Okay. Sportus?
Bill, there's Bill.
Okay.
I had to double unmute. Anyway, thank you, Richard. Okay, my question, we always talking about meats. How about barbecued meats? We don't ever talk about that, or smoked.
So the challenge with smoked meats is that the charring on the outside, that black stuff that is like charcoal, has carcinogenics in it. If you trim that out after you smoke it, where you're not taking that in as income, you're fine. Barbecue sauce, if you make your own barbecue sauce and you make it with honey and tomato sauce and spices, you're fine to do that as a barbecue sauce. If you read the label and it has more than 5 ingredients, and I guarantee it will, you may want to reconsider that. But if you look at the primaries and make your own sauce, you're fine doing that.
And on our barbecues, any problem versus charcoal or propane?
Good question. So there's some current arguments about propane for our environment. That being said, charcoal will char your meat a little bit more, so I probably do propane. I'll tell you, I have a pellet stove and I smoke all the time.
Excellent. Okay. Other question came up last week, and it was that we should ask you, do we have on the new 3.0 versus the tangy tangerine the same amount of minerals?
No. There's less plant-derived minerals. We're kind of getting our plant-derived minerals, I guess I can say this. Europe and part of Asia is going to phase out fulvic acid this year. They're banning it. So you're starting to see where we're using algae more as a trace mineral product. The argument with the EU, and they've been talking about this for about 4 years now, is that I cannot name the vegetation that the fulvic acid is coming from, because it's a million-old prehistoric plant-derived compost pile. And they're becoming difficult. I'll phrase it that way. And so, but if you look at the total amount of fulvic acid in 3.0, I want to say it's 50 milligrams. The plant-derived minerals is 600. The trace mineral caps are a mix of the fulvic acid and the seaweed, and it's 580. It has a really interesting phrase that I'm requesting for them to take off. They say if you want the same amount of fulvic acid, you need to take 2 capsules. You really don't, but it's got 300 milligrams of the mineral mine minerals, and then 280 of an alternative. So if you want 600, you double it. Okay. Will it hurt you to double it? No. Do you need to? No. And it makes it more reasonably matched in price to the plant-derived minerals. The 2.0 and 2.5 have about 300 milligrams of trace minerals in them. So they're a half dose. So if you take 3.0 and you have the philosophy of I weigh 150, so I need to take a dose and a half, you can take a dose of 3.0 and you could take a half dose of 2.0, and then you've increased your trace minerals. Or you could take 3.0 plus a mineral cap and you're there. Or you could take 3.0 and the plant-derived minerals and you're there. But it is true that there's less plant-derived minerals in 3.0 than in the other versions.
Yeah, I believe the original question was, did 3.0 replace our others? Yes.
You know, yes and no. It's got things in it that the previous versions don't. It has an Orax score, and I assume most of you know what Orax score. As an antioxidant, it has a score of 300,000. That's mind-boggling. No one has that. That's like they're going to call us liars again, and we're going to have to prove it, but we've already done the testing on it. But it doesn't have some of the other things, trace minerals. And so can you mix and match these? Absolutely. Do I think it might be the best way to do it? Yes. Personally, I'm old-fashioned. I still take 2.0. I still take RTQ. I still take EFAs, and I still take trace minerals because I like them. And I go from there. And I even toss in a couple of the BTT tablets every day. So I'll encourage all of you to always read labels and kind of figure out your needs. If you're frustrated and you really don't understand and you want assistance, if your upline doesn't have the skill level to do that, call me. I'll walk you through it and figure out what you want. And if you want, I can help you change your auto ship so it be so that you can save a little money to boot.
And would you repeat your number again, please?
800-440-1241. Now I'm 69 and a half now. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Thursday I start late because I have my Rotary meeting. I start at about 8:30. The other mornings I start at about 7:30. West Coast time.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Because I had an East Coast person call me this morning at 6 a.m.
Thank you.
Okay. So any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Richard. So just so we got to get some clarity there, because Dr. Wallach, we have to put this again in the Dr. Wallach was right file, because Dr. Wallach said to us that there weren't the amount of minerals, and I fought him tooth and nail regarding the minerals. So when he's on tomorrow, he's gonna put me over his knee, but and rightfully so. But let's just clarify: the Rise has 50 milligrams, the Restore has 100 milligrams.
Oh, I would have to run and grab my bottles. I believe you. Okay, so it's 150 instead of 50. I'm wrong.
And the 2.5 has 300, like you said. So you could add cherry mins or some other mineral source to it, and then you have an equivalent of your tangy tangerine.
Correct.
Okay, we're just trying to
or
get
classic or ultra body toddy. You know, the thing is that when you talk to Doc, remember, he's going to turn around and say, and I'm looking at you, you look like you're a fit guy. I'm going to guess you're over 100 pounds.
A few pounds over.
Okay, so he would turn around and say, then you need a dose and a blank, blank, blank. So use that blank, blank, blank to get your minerals up by taking a different product. And that's optimizing the program. You know, I don't tell people, and if Doc's on the phone, he'll probably slap my hand. I usually don't tell people to take 2 or 3 scoops of each rise and the other one, just because they start talking to me about price point. You know, I'll go back and say, go ahead and get your 2 scoops of rise and go get a scoop, an ounce of ultra body toddy and blend that in. That's a great product too. In fact, it's one of my favorites, and I had nothing to do with the design. So, you know, longevity is fortunate in having a lot of products out there. And a lot of people have a philosophy. And I was talking with Steve last night, and we were talking about the fruit and vegetable capsules. And, you know, that's been around forever. But when you start looking at the quality of ours versus the quality of the one that you see on TV, it's a day and night difference, and we're cheaper. So if there's, because we're not paying those TV rates, right? And so if you're one of those people that really truly believes in fruits and vegetables in that way, that's a way you can increase that part of the program and even get a greater Orax score. You know, when we were first talking about Orax score 20 years ago, when the Brunswick lab, 100,000 was an unbelievable number. No one could do it. We were down around 25,000. And then we just started to improve our science and how we do things, and the number just kept going up. But I remember Doc talking about certain health conditions, which I shouldn't repeat, but you can think of the serious ones. And he was saying that those people need an Orax score daily of 100,000. And we were going, well, how do you do that? And you would have to take 3 or 4 ounces of this or that to do it. Well, now it's simple. You just can take the 3.0 and you've exceeded that. And you can get all those benefits. And so it's a plus to have these products. The minus or the pro or the con is you have to figure out what fits your diet best. And sometimes that's the best challenge.
And then speaking of the word diet, now I did hear you earlier. You said change the plate, changing the plate, focusing more on the salad portion, utilizing your 90 to really get your micronutrients in. But as far as longevity, weight loss aids or blood sugar aids, are there some favorites of yours that over time may have helped some clients?
So the whey shake instead of dinner, drop down those calories via that way. Blood sugar levels, you know, if someone is pre-diabetic, you know, I always start them on Sweeties. That's a price point issue. If Sweeties doesn't seem to help them, and they've corrected their diet by stop taking the excess sugar and carbohydrates and those types of things, and they're willing to exercise first thing in the morning. We didn't talk about that, but I'm a big proponent of walking in the morning, get your metabolism going. And if that's not working, then I switch over to the other one.
Glucogenics?
Thank you. And the Pro line for that product. And I've even put people on both. And so when I put them on both, it's usually 6 Sweeties and 2 of the Pro line. But then we really talk about their diet, and I really have a heart-to-heart with them. Are they cheating? Are they cheating on themselves? Because a lot of the times it's just hard to do it. And so I find that's a situation.
There are other questions. How do you, what's prompting you to say 6 Sweeties and 2 glucogenics? That's the first time I've heard that kind of combination.
So it's just the size of the people typically. Usually they're much larger in weight. And so because of the price point, I increase the Sweeties instead of the Pro line. to make it a little more within their reasons. I don't want to take the excuses away. You know, one of the biggest lessons I learned with Dr. Wallach is that he tries, when he lectures, to overcome objections before the people have a chance to say them. He talks about why doctors may not have the right answers, why insurance companies surely don't have the right answers, why the FDA may not have the right answers. Because then when he puts out the program in front of them, they don't have the objection to say, oh, I have to check with my doctor. And so sometimes I find that the biggest objection, especially in about this last year or so with inflation and everything, is that price point is such an issue. And so I try to take away that objection to the best of my abilities.
And then what about from the Stay Natural, the eat less, stay thin, hope?
So most of those work on either A, speeding up your metabolism, which you can do, or curb your appetite by making you feel full before you eat. If your problem and your challenge is the total number of calories you take, for example, if you're eating 4,000 calories a day, if you can pile it all on this plate, I commend you on it, but you may not lose weight. Go figure, right? And by the way, this isn't the big plate. This is the lunch plate. If you have that challenge, then I'll turn around and say maybe eat less with stay natural might be a thing, because it's going to fill you up and you're not going to have the desire to eat. If you don't have the desire to eat, then we just have to make sure that you're eating the right things, and then you'll start losing weight. So they're kind of side things to support it. But I'll also say it's something that you don't want to be on for life. And my goal is to get you in a eating program instead of food tasting good. And that's why we eat it. We eat the food because we know it's healthiest for us and it's where we should be. I don't eat food because it's the absolute best thing I can eat. It tastes wonderful and I can't live without it. There isn't a food out there that's that category.
Have you tried my grandma's sweet potato pie?
Well,
I was just joking. Okay.
I'm sure it's wonderful, and sweet potatoes are actually good for you. But how much butter and sugar does she put in that sucker?
Yeah. I took over the recipe. I modified the recipe. Ruth Ellen, are you going to bring on these questions, or since? All right. Thank you, Richard. You're the bomb, and I will see you soon.
Great.
I love how you said, am I cheating on myself? Because we always say, I'm going to cheat on my diet, but we never think that we're actually cheating on ourselves and causing, that has so much more weight to it than cheating on my diet. I'll pick it up tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people always ask, when we do these long calls, you'll see me pick this up. It's not a coffee cup. I actually have green tea in here.
Oh, I like green.
My snack food isn't, even though it's in my grandson's M&M jar. Here, I got to do this so you can see. It's nuts. And I eat nuts, almonds, cashews, and they're all raw. And so those are the types of things that I do. And I don't eat the corn chips. I don't eat the caramel corn. I don't eat the candy. I do like dark chocolate. I'll eat dark chocolate. But, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm more European than American in my diet. I think Americans like sweet too much. And I wish we would back off on that.
Yes, we do like sweet too much. I admit I have a total sugar addiction, so I have to be really careful, because if I have a little bit of something one day because it's a birthday or something, then it's like I have to fight craving it all the time, until I get it back under control. So all right, so we do have a couple questions. I was going to say something else. When it comes back to my head, I will bring it up. So
your brain muted?
A little. A little. Richard, before I started longevity or heard Dr. Wallach, I was 235 pounds. And rate rising. And you know, you quit weighing yourself because you don't want to know anymore, but you can't like stop eating. It's crazy. I got really, really sick, like super sick. I won't go into the graphics of it because it was bad. And I had to get like the hyaluronic treatments because I was so congested in my body that I like literally couldn't turn to see behind my to turn, you know, back out of my driveway and stuff like that. And so when I found your DWD, I had lost some weight, but then I lost almost 50 pounds. I gained a little bit back with COVID, but I'm getting on track of going back to getting healthy because I don't feel good all the time and I get tired and we all do. And it kind of sucks, you know, so I love the plate idea. I try to stay with that. And I do eat a massive amount of green beans with butter and garlic almost with every single meal. I just love green beans. All right. So we did have a question from ZZ Captain on YouTube. Thanks for joining us again. He wanted to know, he says, does Dr. Dirt have any elaboration on the Proline, ones for the brain and how they work?
So the Proline is Synaptive and it helps people with short-term memory. I think it's great for two segments of our population. Senior citizens, such as myself, that are starting to show signs of not having the memory they used to. I also make them eat more eggs. The other side that people aren't thinking that much is our kids. So I can tell you that my grandkids, Sasha and Judah, who are in the 4th and 6th grade, take Synaptive, and their father's a physician, by the way. And he turns around and we had some other challenges and I said, well, Judah needs a little magnesium. And he kind of looked at me and he doesn't challenge me anymore. He just goes and does research. And then if he has a question, he come back and asks. But he did the research and he found out that if he went to pubmed.gov and put in the condition and said more magnesium, it would say it would eliminate it. And so he tried it and poof, it did it. And so when I turn around and say they need a multivitamin, they need a Synaptive, they need an EFA, and in Judah's case, a little extra magnesium for him, they don't challenge it. So Synaptive for kids, think about it. I live outside of Portland, Oregon. The kids live in Portland, Oregon, and I swear they have the worst school district in the world. I'm really irritated. In New York City, they have 185 days of in-house teaching, full-time. In Oregon, it's 165. And they have more teacher planning days than I've ever seen. So last week, they had Martin Luther King Day off. Mm-hmm. This week, they have Monday and Tuesday off for grading and teacher workshops. And November is called No School Ember because of all the days they have off. And the challenge is, and it isn't year-round schooling, so they have the summer off. When you learn, you need to have constant input. In other words, if you learn math and then you don't work on it for 6 months, you forget half of it, right?
Right.
And so Oregon has some of the worst math scores in the United States. And that drives Karen up the wall. Many of you people don't know who Karen is. She's my significant other. She used to be the superintendent of the New York School District. And she was in charge of math and science. And she had 158 schools. And some of the high school was 5,000 students. So she looks at this scenario and she gets rather tipped over about it. Because she says the kids will never catch up. And it's true. And so what can we do diet-wise to catch them up? And really one of the best ways is SmartFX, which is an EFA, and Synaptive, which will help with their memory. I know, long answer. That's my problem.
No, perfect. And I love the SmartFX. I think it's a phenomenal product and it's really good for kids. And it's small, so it's easy for them to swallow, and it's not as like the essential fatty acids are big. So even if you mix them with the food still kind of tastes funny, but with the little pill capsule, gel caps, yes, it blends in. And as the kids get older, they can take that. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. And then we had, let me see. There was another question, but my screen keeps moving here. So I got that. ZZ Captain. Goodness. Okay, it's a very important one. They're getting unhealthy. Okay. And Olga had a question about, did Richard say that minerals or products with plant-derived minerals will be difficult to get in Europe and the UK? Because she is in the UK.
Fulvic acid, and yes, they have a UK because of BRICS, they're not actually part of the EU, but history says that they're going to follow. And so we will find alternatives to play the game. Do we have a date that they're willing, that they turn around and say, we're going to ban it as of this date? And the answer is no. We never know when that stuff happens. And that's true with all of Europe. And so continue taking it. If all of a sudden we find out that we can't, then we'll make sure we'll get an alternative out there very quickly.
Okay.
Then I see CJ with a hand up.
Yes, I was just going to say, all right, CJ, would you like to unmute and ask?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My first question is, can the SmartFX be substitute for the EFA Plus?
Yes.
Perfect. And the Sweet Eze, does it go by body weight, or is it, I have a client who has an A1C of like 7 point something and 150 pounds, 155 pounds. Would that be according to the body weight?
I'd probably start them on 4. We need to get them down below 5 on their A1C.
So 4 per meal or 4 per day?
4 per day.
Okay.
And then look at whether your person is willing to walk first thing in the morning and get their heart going, and less processed foods.
Okay. And would you still add the glucogenics to that, or just the sweeties?
If I don't see their A1C come down, yes.
Okay. And is glucogenics the better of the two, or you need both?
It is, but it's got a more expensive price point.
I don't think they mind paying for that. So if not, then glucogenics would be the better way?
Yep. Then I would do 3 of the gluco, 1 with each meal.
Okay. Thank you so kindly. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Ruth Ellie.
You're welcome.
Be well.
Thank you. And AJ?
Okay, Richard, we're just going to give you a little pushback here. So, so the SmartFX is which one? The DHA and...
That's the one that's 100% purified fish oil, and it's in the small. Can you replace it with regular EFA that has the flaxseed and borage? I am a big proponent of omega-3 being the most predominant. SmartFX is almost all pro omega-3. That's the anti-inflammatory EFA. So that's why I like it.
Understood. Go ahead. Understood. But when we talk about essential fatty acids, we're talking about ALA and LA. And I don't see any ALA in the SmartFX profile.
I would have to double check that. That's primarily out of the flaxseed.
All right. So
my biggest challenge with the kids, it's hard for them to consume a 1 gram or a 1.2 gram soft gel unless you're willing to squeeze it out. The fish oil is not really palatable. If you've ever drinking cod liver oil, you can agree with me on that. And so I want wins. And so I'll push in that direction.
I hear no, I understand where you're coming from. I do understand where you're coming from. You definitely want them to consume something that they can handle, which I get it. I get it. All right. And then I guess Ruth Allen Becky's asking, can you ask what he would Okay, so Becky, that's more of a health question. I don't know, Ruth Allen, you want to ask that one?
Give me 1 second. I think that's okay. All right, so the question is, and if you feel it's medical, then we'll have her come back tomorrow and we'll ask Doc. Can you ask what he would recommend for a young mom, 28, of 2 young boys who, oh, never mind. Becky, we'll ask Doc tomorrow. I read it really quick, so tomorrow, Becky. If you could come back, we can ask Dr. Wallach tomorrow. And I love all this talk about the brain. All right, so is there anything else you'd like to cover, Richard? I'm gonna look for more questions. We're good. Okay.
Sure, I can always go to some things.
Okay.
So we were talking about inflammation a little bit ago, and inflammation is something that your body will make, and it's designed to be a short-term type situation. If you constantly make inflammation, then it becomes a risk factor. Those risk factors will include type 2 diabetes, heart disease, as well as other challenges, and we want to reduce that. Inflammation being a short-term immune response, we can work at reducing it by adding things to our diet. Curcumin, fish oil, ginger, resveratrol, vitamin D, vitamin garlic, and vitamin C. Oh, I'm going to bring up something because maybe Doc doesn't know this. 3.0 will be okay for vegans in a few months. The drawback that we had is that we had D3 in it. D3 is derived from lanolin, which is sheep wool. And if you're a true vegan, you don't want that. We're switching it over to D2, which is plant-based. And that was the only thing that wasn't eligible on that list. And so when you see the label change and you see D2, you can actually recommend it to your vegan friends, even though that's not the reason we made it that way. It just falls in, and we might as well take advantage of that demographics within our group.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed today's topic, and I'm very grateful that you were on the show today. And I did see Bill's hand up, and AJ's got his hand up. So go ahead, AJ.
Okay, what are the alternatives we can use for minerals in the UK in the future?
So we're working on some seaweeds that will have the trace minerals in them. Steve has another program that he's working on that he's patented that I could tell you he's working on it, but I can't tell you what it is because we don't want other people to know it because we would be the first at this one. But I will tell you it is plant-based. And so there's algae that are also out there that have trace minerals in them. And so there's types of things. Will we continue for it to be a plant-based mineral? Well, algae is a plant and so is seaweed. So the answer is yes. And so that's how we'll do it. We'll just have trouble using the fulvic acid from the mine because we can't tell them from what plants it's derived from.
Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. And Bill, can you go ahead and unmute?
Hi again. Okay,
Hello.
I'm close to you. I'm over in Bend.
Okay.
Okay. I had an X-ray done of my spine, repeat of 2020, and my S1 is almost, the disc is almost collapsed. L4, L5 also. So I'm looking at upper dosing the glucogel. And what else would you recommend?
So for joint challenges or hard tissue challenges, I like, and this is my personal preference, liquid glucogel. It's helped my knees significantly. Item number 13216. When I work with people, seem to have a better success rate. Not allowed to really say that it will work for you, but I would definitely give that a try over the capsules.
Okay, we'll do that. And blood pressure. We'll do the cardio beats.
Cardio Beats is a good choice. Anything with hawthorn berry in it, Cardio Beats has hawthorn berry, will clean out your artery system so it's smoother and it will help. CoQ10 is also beneficial for the actual health of your heart, and we have a CoQ10 product, and we have it in almost all our multis. And so that product in that direction, and that's probably the two main ones. Oh, we also have Cardio 8. That also has hawthorn berry in it.
Thank you.
I feel pretty good. Doc hasn't raised his hand yet.
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 Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. And in the chat, Nancy Cook says, I'm so glad to be here. It's almost like you have a granny cam in my home. So thank you. All right. And all right. So
Well, I'll give a little bit of company information just to help. We will be
okay.
coming out with new products in February. That's one of the benefits of going to our events. If you received an invitation, I encourage you to do the networking and see it. You'll also get your hands on. I can tell you, I started a trend on the last one, and that is that we had a real fancy box that the 3.0 came in. And I went to all the leaders in longevity, including Steve Wallach and Sanji and everyone else that I work with on a regular basis, and had them make a comment and sign it. And I didn't ask permission to do this. I just started to walk around and doing it. And Michelle Wallach, bless her heart, I've known her for a long time as well, saw me doing this, and then all of a sudden started to pull out Sharpies for everyone because she thought it was a great idea. And I have it up on my bookcase across the way. And, it's just exciting. Longevity has realigned and focused itself. Some of the things that were used to be side companies and side projects, you don't see as much anymore. And Steve and Michelle and Doc are focusing back to our core of 90 essential nutrients and nutrition that will change us in the world. We've also are pushing more to get our products available in more countries. And I think that's something that we're all going to see. Will it change some of the formulas? Yes, because it really doesn't make sense to make a product for just Singapore. We need to try to become more universal. The big thing is that means not only do we have to satisfy the FDA and the EU, but we may have to some of the Southeast Asia countries and things like that. I plan to actually go to the Singapore office in March and meet with them and talk about some things that we can do as well as them when I take a holiday. And Ruth Ellen, I'll tell you that right now, that on March 12th to 29th, I'm out of here.
Okay. All right. I don't
and I have witnesses now.
I'll make sure to find another guest for that date at the fourth Thursday of that month. I hope you have a lot of fun. You deserve to just relax and take a break. I do have one more question. And Cheryl, I believe that you have a medical question, and Richard is not a doctor, and he wouldn't be able to answer your question about blood tests. So if you could come back tomorrow, that would be greatly appreciated. And if it's a different question, then send me a message right now and then we'll ask it. Okay. But I can't have him answering that question. And then CJ wanted to know, does the Ultimate Daily Classic have Hawthorne berry also?
Gosh, you guys really test me on this stuff. Just a second.
Yes, it
going
does.
to cheat.
It does.
I'm going to cheat. Oh, it does. Thank you.
AJ said it does. Okay. Thank you so much. And it is.
Hey, I can tell you guys, truthfully, we try not to hide anything on our label. We don't hide anything. Sometimes we'll group stuff together and you may not know how many milligrams, but you know, you can go on the label and read them. And if, like 2.0 tablets, it's almost amusing. We couldn't fit everything on the label, so we put it on the box. So the box has more panels than the label does. And part of the challenge was fitting it. But look on the label and you'll get 90% of those questions. Thank you, AJ. He's obviously taking Synaptive, and I've missed a couple of days.
I definitely forgot it this morning as well. I do have one more question, and we get it a lot. And see, I really needed it. I got distracted because Becky says she can't see Richard, but he is spotlighted, so you should be able to see him. Everybody should be able to see him. You know what? I'm gonna have to write it down for next time. Oh, no. All right. So thank you so much for coming, Richard. And I really love listening to you. I remember now, Sanya, if I talked a little bit. We always get the question, because a lot of companies, and I'm not talking about Young Johnny, I'm talking food companies, put natural flavors, and it's code for things that we don't want in our bodies. But when Longevity says natural flavors, they actually mean natural flavors. Can you just elaborate on that real quick, and then we'll end the show?
So, yeah, there is a difference between a nutritional fact panel and a supplement fact panel. Supplement fact panels are designed for dietary supplements. Nutritional fact panels are designed for food. So if you look on our whey products, some of them, probably you'll find some food fact panels. Food fact panels, the FDA will allow them to say, put anything in there and call it a natural flavor or natural coloring, with the exception of Red 3 that we finally got rid of. Or wait a minute, they're going to give them 2 years to get rid of it. They would make us get rid of it in 2 days, but they'll give food companies 2 years. And they can put MSG, but there's a lot of arguments that small amounts of MSG isn't bad for you now. But monosodium glutamate, for those that don't abbreviate like I do. And you could put that in as a natural flavoring in food, but you can't on a dietary supplement. And so we have supplement fact panels. And if we say natural, it has to be natural. And so in our case, like on the BTT, it'll be natural orange extract, natural tangerine extract, or natural pineapple extract, or combinations thereafter. Our coloring is almost always beet juice or cherry juice. And so that's the difference. And so if you're in the grocery store and you're looking at it, you're going to see that it's going to say nutritional fact panel. They can lie. If it's a supplement fact panel, they can't lie. And next time I'm on, I'll show you the big book that I have to go by to design. I'm sure I've shown it, but it's a small telephone book of all the rules and regulations for nutritional supplement fact panels, or nutritional fact panels and supplement fact panels.
Yes, we have to be very detail oriented with that. So thank you for answering that. And so if I can get all of my co-hosts up, we're going to go ahead and end the show. And thank you again, Richard. You are a wealth of information, and I'm so grateful that I know you and that I'm part of Longevity and that we're all part of Longevity, because it has affected every single person that you see on the screen right now. All of our lives have been impacted for the better. And I don't know where I would be without Longevity. I mean, I could barely walk when I got here. So thank you for the phenomenal formulations and everything. So to my right, we have Kaylee, who is a student intern with us, who is learning about social media and coding and all kinds of stuff that has to do with the show. And so we're really grateful to have her. She's a real gem. I just adore her. And then we have Marilyn, who is speedily typing everything that you say to the best of her ability, looking things up and posting them in there. And we call her Fingers, and we make sure she takes her glucogel and she can keep doing what she's doing. And so we're really grateful for her. And we have Sherry, who is out there on the different platforms, and she helps with the production and making sure that everything that I send out from OBS goes into Restream and then goes out to YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and then so we greatly appreciate her, and she is a beautiful human being as well. And then we have AJ, who also does that and takes everything that goes from those channels and sends them out to Spotify, which covers so many different channels. And we're all over the place, even Audible podcasts and Apple TV. So this journey has just been magnificent. And I'm glad that we're all on it together. And I'm Ruth Ellen Sanchez, the executive production of Daily with Doc and Becca. And if your question didn't get answered, you can email questions@dailywithdoc.com, and a certified holistic health coach will get back to you. And if you would like to call, we do have a call team available 24/7 now, because Albert, he's not here today, but he is in South Africa. So he answers the phone while we're all sleeping. So that number is 855-949-3377. So I hope you all have a beautiful day, and we will see you tomorrow with Dr. Wallach. Will be on tomorrow and Thursday. So have a great day, everybody. And thank you for joining us. Take care.
Love you, Doc.
Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have the faith founding father of the science of epigenetics, guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics, guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.